So weekly lows or highs can form at the open. So I've made the same mistake on this trade as well as the EU position that I shared yesterday, where I assumed that because we gap low at the open, we would follow, the typical cycle of accumulation, manipulation, distribution, which would have seen, those lows, which I'll share in a bit, get taken out before we distribute higher. But the market had other plans. Welcome back to the Daily Nugget. It's day 114 of 365. And today we're breaking down the loss I took on EURJPY on the 7th of April. So starting on the daily, and this is probably one of the cleaner dailies that, I have on a pair across the board. Clean sweep before that displacement higher. We've got this, these old highs, but this clean high also resting just below this weekly order block. Price is gravitating towards these highs. I'm telling you now, 164 will be achieved on EURJPY, but do what you want with that information. So coming straight down to the 1 hour, this is where we open, and I assumed here because, we gapped up, filled that gap, then we would continue to obviously either accumulate and come lower, but obviously this was, the 1 hour range that I was playing in. And so I saw price in that premium area, assuming then that at minimum we take out these equal lows and come lower before then distributing higher. And on the day, that just was not the case. We went straight higher and violated that. And that's something that I'm starting to notice with pairs that gap and then fill that void immediately, is that more often than not, we seemingly just continue in that area instead of, filling the void and then coming lower. Picked that up in the past couple of weeks. Haven't been paying much attention to it because I think it's only in the last couple of months or so that we've been getting a lot of these gaps. So we'll, keep taking note of how that plays out, and if there's any value add there that I can structure into the plan or the way I see things. What could I have done better? Probably not having an expectation of how the market should play out and, just reading it as it is. On the day, probably could have given it some room to breathe, and we'll be mindful of that going forward. Remember guys, consistency is the choice you make when you start doing the things you should be doing day in and day out.